I don't know if you all can see it very well, but my cat's most favorite toy is on the little flower ottoman behind me, just bits of cardboard on a piece of wire. And Ellie is actually ignoring that toy in favor of trying to get in my lap because for some reason, when I film, she feels like she needs to be in my lap. Anyway, hello and welcome to, or back to, my channel. I'm Kit, and here we talk about harmful beliefs and ideas promoted by certain influencers, content creators, and so on. And today, we're going to discuss Ben Shapiro and yet another example of conservative dishonesty. Before we get into it, I would like to note that I don't know Ben, and these are my thoughts and opinions on the content he puts out for public consumption. That being said, thank you for clicking on this video, and I would like to give extra thanks to my patrons. Links to my socials and Patreon are below, along with sources and resources, and now, on to the reason we're all here. So if you could play with a toy, Emily, that'd be really great, because we're going to talk about Ben Shapiro, and I think we could all use a little something to make us smile. Anyway, I'm sure we're all aware, but Ben Shapiro is a political commentator and the owner of the Daily Wire network. And recently, he decided to lecture us silly Americans about how we don't need to retire, and in fact, retirement would actually be bad for us. Except, well, last year, I posted a video titled Sydney Watson and Conservative Dishonesty, though where Sydney was talking about society forcing straight men to be gay because some men applied to be in a The Cut video that involved kissing other men, Ben is talking about society forcing people into retirement. It's like conservatives see something they don't like or wouldn't do, and instead of saying, not for me, they turn it into something sinister, something that all the normal people like themselves are going to be forced to participate in. In my opinion, this is the originator of the conservative persecution complex, and they should all be ashamed of playing into it. But instead, they just keep going. Anyway, Ben was talking about how politicians like to kick the can of tackling entitlements down the road because Americans wouldn't look kindly upon a politician who reformed them, and that is how we get here.
It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy. Joe Biden, if that were the case, Joe Biden should not be running for president. Hey, Joe Biden is 81 years old. The retirement age in the United States at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare is 65. Joe Biden has technically been eligible for Social Security and Medicare for 16 years, and he wants to continue in office until he is 86, which is 19 years, past when he would be eligible for retirement.
Ben doesn't seem to understand that being eligible for Social Security doesn't mean you'll be forced to take it. In fact, a lot of people keep working because what they would get from Social Security wouldn't be enough.
No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem. Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years.
Mental note.
And if you talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket real quick.
Everyone I've met that's retired is pretty thrilled by it. And can Ben really not think of what people would do if they weren't going to a job every day? Also, isn't he a religious man? Does he really think working for pay is what gives people their purpose in life? Regardless, I strongly suspect that having a job where he goes to an air-conditioned studio to give his opinions has twisted his idea of what work is like for other people. Not to mention, he owns the company.
Put all of that aside, just on a fiscal level and on a logical level. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt established 65 as the retirement age, the average life expectancy in the United States was 63 years old. Today, the average life expectancy in the United States is close to 80.
Average life expectancy is 79 for women, 73 for men.
It's totally insane that you believe that you should be able to work from the time that you are essentially 20 to the time that you are 65, which is a 45-year period, pay in, and then you will receive Social Security benefits sufficient to support you and your family, you and your wife or whatever, for another 20 years. That's crazy talk.
So first, Ben thinks it's crazy to pay into Social Security for 45 years and then, theoretically, be paid from it for 20. I can't even say it seems like a fair trade-off because, honestly, 45 years of work and 20 of retirement seems more like a ripoff to me, especially when you take into consideration that the US doesn't guarantee holidays or vacation days. And second, Ben just said this.
And then you will receive Social Security benefits sufficient to support you and your family, you and your wife or whatever, for another 20 years.
But he also said this.
Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years.
So, which is it, Ben? Retirement is a bad idea because people lose their purpose and die within 5 years, or retirement is a bad idea because people are living 20 years afterward? You can't have both. Anyway, Ben says that isn't fiscally responsible and that raising the retirement age to 67 or 68 won't make people fall apart. After all, his parents are that age and they're not retired. Last I knew, his father was a music composer and his mother was a TV executive, and to my knowledge, neither of those jobs are labor intense. And in fact, it seems like most people in the entertainment industry skip retirement. But Ben can't judge other people off his family, though that certainly won't stop him from trying. Ben also tries to tell us,
by the way, it's disrespectful to people who are 67, 68, 69 years old to suggest that they are in the same shape as people who are 65 were in 1940. It's not true at all. Have you met a 65-year-old lately?
Yes, my father, who took early retirement because he was a contractor and that's a physical job, and he also broke his back on a job site when he was younger. And my grandfather retired at 63 because he was a farmer and that's also a physical job. It's kind of funny that Ben and Co. play at knowing and understanding the hard-working American people, but it's painfully obvious they don't even have a clue.
65-year-olds are not old in the United States. They're not. 68-year-olds are not old in the United States.
So basically, Ben thinks you should be working until your body breaks down and forces you to retire. Got it.
Again, Joe Biden thinks he's not old, and that dude is running for president again, and that dude actually is old, and he's 81. I fail to see how a country in which our entire leadership class is 80 plus is telling you that we should have a retirement age of 65. It makes no sense at all.
No one is telling people they have to retire at 65. The option is just there if they want or need it. I'm happy to say that for once, people were not buying what Ben was selling, and we got this gem from him. Fine, I'll make you a deal. We can keep the retirement age 65 so long as we make that retirement age mandatory for our elected officials. Was he really expecting people to argue with that? Anyway, final thoughts. I think this video is a great example of how conservatives just don't believe in allowing people to decide their own lives. You need to marry unless you have a calling from God about being single. I have no idea how you would prove you have that calling. You need to have kids unless you physically can't. You need to keep working unless you have a health condition. And I have a feeling that very few health conditions would be deemed bad enough to permit retirement in Ben and friends' minds. Ben didn't help with Project 2025, but I think this, and all other conservatives' attitudes toward work, is telling. For all the document talks about faith, family, community, they really just want people to work and have kids, which has the double benefit of creating future workers and also keeping people working because they have a family to support. And that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.